centuries, Alderaan stood as a beacon of hope in the Republic. The Empire came.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
Peace while you suffer. The Emperor drowns you in black waters.
He wants me to be Darth Revan again. Serve him as I did centuries ago. He made me a Sith Lord and named me Darth Revan.
The Force does not control you. You saved Ugandan using something you thought was important. But your motives are still aligned with the Jedi Code.
To arms, men! Defend the throne!
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him. He was weak and foolish like his father. So I destroyed him.
Master Windu, you have fought gallantly. Worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi. It is finished.
To them it is.
I have been waiting for you. Is it true that he is the chosen one?
Hey, this is new. So, welcome to a new podcast show, which we are calling The State of the Galaxy. My name is Alex. You probably know me as that, Alex Mango, various other titles from gaming and things like that. But today I'm joined by my gaming guest,
Tom.
There we go. You probably wouldn't refer to yourself as a Star Wars fan on my level, which is probably good because then it means you'd like to go outside and see sunshine and stuff and enjoy other forms of media. But you have seen all the films and you enjoy them to a healthy extent.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So it's really great to have you on. Always nice to talk Star Wars. That's why we're doing this show. So let's get right on to the first subject at hand, which is the Star Wars questionnaire. It was something that was made viral. I don't know who from, but by most Star Wars fans, they tend to go through this questionnaire and give their own views. So,
You can do that.
question 1. Would you be a Jedi or would you be a Sith, and why?
Oh. Would I be I think I'd be a Jedi.
Yeah? Why is that?
Or... Do you know what? It's just something about it, isn't there? It's... Maybe it's just the way that the films portray it. There's a certain element of greatness there.
Yeah.
I get the power that the Sith have, and they're definitely more powerful from what you see. But, I don't know, I like the fact that the Jedi seem to be more in control.
Yeah, and for the most part they are. So you're looking for a more stable and happy connection to the Force rather than constantly focusing on passion and hatred to get you by, which for the most part is what the Sith are doing.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
me sound nice and happy.
there you go. So question 2. What is your favourite planet or world within the Star Wars universe?
Oh, see, now you're testing knowledge that I'm not so great on, you see.
You're more than welcome to just say a film, say a scene, and I'll hopefully be able to tell you what planet that is. I'm not so good with episode 7, but everything else I can do.
I think we're going Hoth.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I just think it's cool, you know, you make a planet out of ice and stuff. And
Yeah. I mean, if you had a nice resort there, I'm guessing looking out would be quite nice.
you could get a nice hotel going on. I mean,
There you go. So the next question, which is the one that you may require a little bit of information on, is what would your lightsaber type be, colour and combat style? So first of all, we're going to go for the lightsaber type. So that can be anything from your regular lightsaber, which is the ones that Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan and Mace Windu would wield, standard hilt and standard length blade. Then you have the lightsaber Shoto, which is the one that Yoda uses, the shorter blade, for greater maneuverability, and obviously it complements his stature.
Yep.
Then we have slightly more unique ones like the lightsaber crossguard, which is the one that Kylo Ren utilizes. Not by choice for the most part, because it's a unstable crystal. That's why it has the exhaust ports on the side. And then you have things like the lightsaber saber staff, which is the one that Darth Maul wields. And the lightsaber pike, which is a larger version of the one that Maul uses in terms of the hilt, but the blade's a lot shorter. And then you have even more abstract ones like the lightsaber whip, which I think have only had about 3 appearances within the non-canon universe. So those, I think, are all of the lightsaber types that we've got going at the moment. There are more, but those are the standard ones. So what do you think you might go for?
You said a lot of words in there.
I did,
I
sorry.
didn't quite catch up with. But I think the staff, the
the Darth Maul's lightsaber staff. Okay.
I think that would be me. I mean, I spent 6 years training in martial arts, and I used the bow staff in that, and I think
Lovely.
That would call me in with that.
Cool.
That attracts me for that reason.
And what colour crystal would you utilise?
Oh, I think it's got to be a purple.
Oh, lovely. So double purple. You don't see many of those around. I think there was only ever one person within the non-canon universe who used one of those. So that's very, very cool. So the next thing we're going to go into is the combat style. And there are 7 forms of lightsaber combat. The first one is Shicho, which is what you see in Star Wars Episode 4 when Obi-Wan Kenobi and Vader are fighting. And it's very much like they're fighting with swords. Or broadswords. There's not much movement. It's all very clunky, and for the most part, it was wiped out of the later Jedi Order because it didn't lend to fast-paced combat. It was also quite useful against large groups of enemies, but for the most part, it was just used for Padawans to train them up. So not many people go for that. The next one, Makashi, which is a dual-focused combat style, relies a lot on timing and accuracy and elegance, and famous users include Count Dooku. So if you remember his battle with Anakin Skywalker, or Yoda, yes, or Anakin Skywalker later on in Episode 3, it was very much a dance that he was doing. It was very fluent. He was almost mocking Anakin, how fluent his movements were, despite the fact that he was significantly older than Anakin was. So that's Makashi. Sarisu, number 3, is a defense and relies a lot on subtle dodges, and it actually utilizes very little energy because you're keeping the blade very close to your chest. So it's not about long swiping movements. It's very much about very close movements of the blade, but you're still got a lot of coverage. And famous users include Obi-Wan and probably someone you wouldn't know, Darth Bane. But Obi-Wan used it quite a lot, and it was quite useful against General Grievous because he was all over the place, and Obi-Wan was able to keep all of his limbs intact when he was fighting against.
Always a good strategy.
It is, yes. So the 4th is Ataru, and it's significantly more aggressive than the other forms. It relies on force-wielded or force-enhanced powers. So if you were coming down on someone with a massive swipe, you would then use the force to enhance that, and it would also keep your energy levels up as well. So it would not be as fast, but it would be significantly more destructive on, say, a Jedi Padawan or a Sith Padawan, whoever you may be going up against. And famous users in that include Yoda and Anakin's Padawan Ahsoka. So Yoda, he used a combination of Shicho, the first form, and Form 4, because Form 1 was lacking. He'd use that to boost it up a bit. Form 5, and you're going to hate me for this, has 2 parts.
Uh-huh.
Degenso and Sheen, or Shien. Shien, start off with, is more defensive than the 3rd form, despite the fact that it was very defensive, and it combines launching powerful attacks after deflecting blaster fire. So it was something I think that Vader depicted in Rogue One when he's in the corridor, because he was deflecting blaster fire whilst bringing down quite heavy hits on his opponents. And the second part, Degenso, is just purely based on lightsaber dueling to make up for the weaknesses that a purely defensive combat style would have. And it also has powerful counterattacks, solely focused on the defense strategy still, but obviously keeping you alive and perhaps disabling your opponent. And famous users in that include Anakin Skywalker. So last 2, 6, which is Nyman, it's all of the styles blended together. And this relies on one to have a creativity within the fight, so that they are then able to utilize different combat styles for what the situation may be. So if you feel like you're one who's able to look into your training and utilize a teaching that you may have to cater to an event rather than just say, I'm going to use this for everything, it would be quite useful to against all adversaries, to be fair. And famous users include Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, which made them such a cool fighting pair. And the last one is, I think it's pronounced as Jayu. I'll probably get a better pronunciation for that. And again, it's 2 parts. The first part is a vicious fighting form, but it was restricted in the Jedi Order just because of how vicious it was. And that was used by Maul. And the second part is Vapad, which is a furious fighting style that's used to channel out one's inner darkness during a duel, and Mace Windu used that. He actually used that a lot during the fight with Sidious. So, those are the 7 fighting styles, if you need me to recover any of those.
I think 6 would be the one I've...
Is the one with the utilised... I mean, to be fair, with your martial arts training, I guess you were probably trained into many different forms and many different...
using weapons whilst kicking, flying, all sorts of... Not literally flying.
I take off now!
It doesn't work like that.
No, but that... I mean, I saw your eyes kind of light up when you heard about that one, because so fair enough. That's a good one to go with, but not many people choose it because many people just study the one and it restricts them a bit. So the next question, now that we've covered number 3, is favourite species within the Star Wars universe.
Oh God, that I'm going to really struggle with.
You can say a film or a scene and I'll tell you.
I'll tell you what, I think I just enjoy the speech, but Greedo is quite fun to listen to.
I can't remember the name of his species, I don't think. That's annoying. But I'll probably throw a picture into the podcast at some point, who knows. Next question is, and I think this is quite it's quite cool with what's happened with you recently. Favourite vehicle within the Star Wars universe?
I have indeed just bought a new car.
There you go.
That is indeed a thing.
So if you're able to look past how cool your current vehicle is and maybe think about hypothetical.
I think nothing just quite lives up to what I've got.
No.
No.
It's very nice, but
I think Clone Wars, where Obi-Wan and a fairly young Anakin are flying around the city. I'm not sure what's
Coruscant, with the just like the pod, the speeders.
Yeah, and they've got the shapeshifter that they're tracking down.
So they're just like Coruscant speeders. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I love in MMOs just riding those around Coruscant or whatever planet I am on because it's so relaxing and just being able to see everything's quite nice. So yeah, that's fair. That's fair play to you. If you were a Jedi, what master would you have? So an existing character that's been in the Star Wars universe, and why, if you're happy to throw that into.
Why and who? Well, probably who and why, and who's first. I think I'll probably end up going with... I think Qui-Gon seemed quite an interesting character.
He was nice because...
Never really saw enough of him.
No, and he was kind of like the cowboy Jedi. Up until we got new stuff like Star Wars Rebels, he was the only one who did that, and he didn't always follow the rules, but he was still a nice mentor.
No, indeed, if you go back to the first film... Phantom Menace, you well, let's say first. We'll just go with first.
Yeah.
But we see in that film that he's challenging the rest of the council with the bringing in of a very young Anakin.
But too old apparently.
Yes.
So he's very much one who would challenge the Jedi Order when he feels like it needs to be challenged.
I think I'd quite like that.
No, fair play to you. Good choice. And on the opposite end of the scale, if you were a Sith, which master would you choose?
I mean, if the stories of Darth Plagueis the Wise are true, then surely he's the one to go for. Is he not?
Yeah, fair play. The only thing that worries me about that Sith era is I think that followed after Darth Bane, which was the one who invented the rule of 2, which is there's a master who has the power and an apprentice to crave it. So throughout the training, the apprentice is going to be looking for the best time to kill the master. So you'd be fine if you were looking to kill Plagueis, but if you were then to take on a Padawan, that would be the problem that you'd face. But Plagueis with his manipulation of the midichlorians and his science, he was very much focused on that. So that's pretty cool. So unfortunately, it doesn't ask the Jedi equivalent. But what would your Sith name be if you were a Sith?
Oof.
You know, it doesn't have to be Darth because she had Ventress. She wasn't a Darth, but she was very much a Darksider.
Do you know what? I have no idea.
No.
No, I couldn't. I'm not.
No.
No, I don't know enough. I guess.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, most people just go with like a change of their name. I mean, even mine, Kalak, it's close to my surname, so you know, it's yeah. So
no, I've got nothing. I'm
oh, okay, no, fair play to you.
Sorry. Breaking the system.
This really should be one of the first questions, but what is your favourite Star Wars film?
Oof. Wow.
There are no wrong answers, just so long as you don't pick all the wrong ones.
Yeah, and I can imagine what the wrong ones are going to be.
I mean, I've encountered quite a few people who love the prequels over the originals. That's absolutely fine because they all choose them for the right reasons. So I doubt you'd be the exception in that.
I quite enjoyed Rogue One.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Really I've forgotten his name. The blind dude.
Oh, Chirrut.
That's the one.
He was incredible,
brilliant,
and I'm so happy they're doing expanded stuff with the Marvel comics for him. But yeah, you're the first person that I've come across who's actually said that, but I can really understand why with it being such a good film. So yeah, great choice. And following that, what would your least favourite Star Wars film be?
It's a tricky one. I enjoyed Clone Wars with the scene where you've got Leia and Obi-Wan and Anakin tied to the posts and they're in the arena with the monsters around them.
Oh yeah, the Geonosian arena. Yeah.
I really enjoy that scene, but otherwise the rest of that film, I don't find that amazing.
Okay, fair. I mean, lots of people hate it as the most hated one.
Oh,
so,
okay, well...
So you wouldn't be alone in that.
Right, I feel less alone here.
I'm one of the few that actually rates it above things like Star Wars Episode 7, so...
I mean, yeah, that hasn't been... I don't think that was as good as it could have been. I think
no.
That was...
But there are different problems there, and we'll raise them in a later episode. But yeah, so would you choose that then as your least favourite? I mean, it doesn't have to be hated, it's just least favourite.
Yeah, I think probably least favourite would be there.
Okay, fair play. So following on from that, if you were to write a story within the Star Wars universe, it doesn't have to be following any of the main characters. It doesn't even have to be following a character, because that'd be like the first one that we've ever had where it's following perhaps a creature or just an event. What story would it be? I know it's a really broad question because it's like that's the whole of the Star Wars universe there. I haven't even given you an era.
I'd quite like to know more about the Gungans. I think.
Oh, okay.
The whole little city that they've got going on.
As much as the
underwater.
Gungans were the most annoying bit of Star Wars, or more Jar Jar than anything else.
Yes.
When they started this series, the Clone Wars, they brought in stuff like Gungan Jedi and even Jar Jar in the unfinished season 6. He had a really good story arc. So yeah, there is merit for following the Gungans and exploring them. So yeah, I can see that. I'm not sure how I'd feel about an entire film with them, especially if it was just them. I'd want to die. But
perhaps a short.
But yeah, but I said a story, so that doesn't necessarily have to be a film. But yeah, fair play to you. Which film has your favourite soundtrack or piece of music? I mean, lots of people go with the fairly well-known ones like Duel of Fate or Battle of the Heroes. Mine's a bit out there, but...
What's yours then, go on?
Mine is the Battle of Endor Part 2, where Luke's fighting Vader aboard the second Death Star, while Sidious is watching, and then the electrocution scene that follows from that.
Yes.
But I've listened to that music so many times, and you can almost hear, or what I like to think, is the Siths yelling out as Sidious is doing it. Because they're all with him. It's not just Sidious who's letting out the dark side. The dark side is everyone that's ever studied it. and they're all present in that room as Luke's being tortured. It's a beautiful, it's kind of depiction of what the dark side is, especially if you really read into it.
Right.
So that's why it's my favourite.
And that sort of spurs Vader on to come in and
Yeah.
save his son.
Save his son.
Boom.
Yeah.
In there doing it. It's a really small sound clip it. But in The Force Awakens, where you've got Kylo Ren and he's speaking to his grandfather, Vader, but it's just the mask.
Oh,
For
yeah.
about 5 seconds you get the Vader tune, but it's
slowed down and deepened. There's more bass to it. It's nice.
I really liked that.
That was quite nice. Yeah, I can see it. I don't think I've ever come across anyone who's ever chosen not only that piece of music, but anything from Star Wars Episode 7, to be fair. But it's brilliant to have a bit of variety. So yeah, absolutely. A really short and easy one, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this already. Do you collect figurines?
I do not.
There we go. And in your opinion, and I should probably specify what this actually means, in your opinion, what is the best thing about the EU? And that's not the EU that probably everyone else knows, the EU being the expanded universe within Star Wars. That's stuff like the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, even some of the books that have been discontinued. What for you, perhaps? It doesn't have to be a specific story, just to you.
I probably don't know enough, if I'm being honest.
I mean, to be fair, what a lot of people say when they're not too familiar is that it's ever expanding the Star Wars universe, and it's allowing different creators to come in. And something that a really nice podcast that I've come across quite recently called the Cantina Cast, they said in their early days, was that George Lucas has allowed lots of artists and lots of story writers to come in and stir the pot, but they've never been able to own anything that they take from it. But they're always adding seasoning, if you like, into the brew that's being created that is Star Wars.
Can you over season the brew though?
Well, yeah, that's a different question entirely. Will we ever ruin Star Wars? But so that's what a lot of people say. That's a nice thing about the EU, that it adds to an ever expanding universe, and it allows other people to and have their own stories.
Yeah, no, I probably really don't know enough to make a comment
No,
on that.
fair play.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Should I skip the second one then? What's the worst thing about the EU?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fair. And the last one being, what does Star Wars mean to you?
Oh, God,
it's quite a deep question.
That is a deep and really wide question.
It is, yeah. Because lots of people have had many different experiences with Star Wars. Some people have been married to it. Some people have been brought together because of it. And some people have been helped through a hard time because of it, or with the aid of it. So it can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. That's why it's so popular.
I think to me it's probably a bit simpler than that. It's probably childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, a number of the prequels, 1, 2, and 3, were being produced whilst I was in my early teens. Yeah,
that would be right, because the first one came out in 1999.
Yeah, I was, 5?
And then the last one was 2005. So, yeah, they pretty much follow for both of us in that respect. So, yeah, thank you very much for completing the Star Wars questionnaire. Don't worry, I won't make you do that again.
Okay, we're good.
So we can follow on now to our main topic of the podcast, and we'll probably finish up on, which is focusing on the standalone films, specifically the Obi-Wan Kenobi film that we're meant to be getting after Star Wars Episode 9. Lots of people have come up to me quite recently at work and things like that and have said to me, what's the point in having an Obi-Wan Kenobi film? This is the proof, if you like you said just now, that Disney or whoever might be taking the reins with that is going to milk Star Wars to death, because it seems like a hollow idea.
Yeah.
Where Obi-Wan could potentially just be sitting around just waiting for Luke to be ready at the start of Episode 4.
Yeah.
My argument to that is, and I have written out a short plot synopsis of how I'd like Star Wars Kenobi to run, if you're happy to have a quick listen.
Yeah, sure.
I was meant to follow that with something. But yeah, so this is how I'd like it to play out and how I'd imagine it would actually work if it did have a promising plot, how they would make it last for 2 or nearly 3 hours. So I imagine that the Obi-Wan film would start with Obi-Wan 6 years down the line from the end of Star Wars Episode 3. So we would still be grieving about Order 66, because he has, for the most part, witnessed the Jedi Massacre. He went to the Jedi Temple too late to save pretty much anyone.
Yep.
He saw all the younglings having been slaughtered by Anakin Skywalker, that he later learns, and the clones, that he, for all the Clone Wars, thought that they were his allies.
Yeah.
And everyone's allies within the Galactic Republic.
And he then went and fought
Yeah,
Anakin, which was pretty...
that must have hurt quite a lot, because he was a brother to him. And also, and I don't know whether you know, but within the Clone Wars series, he also had a love interest, known as the Duchess Satine. She was Duchess of Mandalore, and the Mandalorians are the people that wear the same armour as Jango and Boba Fett.
Oh, right.
But they were the more established ones. They had a religion, if you like, purely focused around combat, but she was the kind of light within that. She was the one who wanted to bring Mandalore to a more peaceful arrangement, and she reached a lot of conflict because of that. But Obi-Wan and her went on numerous missions and stuff, and built up quite a friendship and then an actual relationship. But unfortunately, it couldn't last, because Darth Maul took control of Mandalore and slaughtered the Duchess Satine right in front of Obi-Wan. And then confined Obi-Wan to a cell by himself to grieve over the loss of his beloved. So at this point, he's probably still hurting about that. His pain has severed his connection with Qui-Gon Jinn. He was probably quite excited at the end of Episode 3 to learn that he could contact him. But in the areas where he'd have quite a lot of downtime, he would then start to reminisce and fixate on the dark stuff that's happened in his life, which would mean that his piece to the Force would have been severed or distorted, and he would then feel even more isolated and alone. He walks on a really fine line of light over the dark side, which is actually what Luke was depicted having to go through in a discontinued novel known as Shadows of the Empire, where after having found out that that Darth Vader was his father, everything was distorted then. And he'd lost Han Solo. He was separated from his friends on Tatooine. He was pretty much in exactly the same position as Obi-Wan, perhaps not going through as much conflict, but there was still a lot going on there. Everything had been changed. So I would then like to think the Empire at this point, being fairly established, would be throwing out a lot of propaganda, and would be gloating almost about, like Krennic does to Galen Marek. I think no, it's not Galen Marek. That's the Force Unleashed. Anyway, to Galen that the Jedi are all extinct. They'd want to be doing the same to give people little hope and be like, okay, this is the new regime, we have to follow it. Yeah. He could perhaps hear on a stolen radio that Master Yoda is dead. So now everything's gone. The only other Jedi that he knows of that has gone into exile and is awaiting to train Luke and to aid with the new hope, in quotation marks, is now gone. It's now all up to Obi-Wan. And that would make him fall even further. Losing the faith in the Jedi could be a potential thing as well, and for a month perhaps Obi-Wan falls into complete darkness and meditates around the saber of Anakin Skywalker, which would then give him an opportunity to imprint his message to the one who would then bring balance to the Force, which is why Rey hears Obi-Wan's voice in the Force vision that she has in Star Wars Episode 7, because there's an imprint of Obi-Wan on that saber, as there is with Anakin and all the other stuff that went on. Seeking nothing but company, he could perhaps seek out Luke and his adopted family, seeing as those are the only for sure friendly people that he knows are on Tatooine, and he knows where they are. He's welcomed into the house with open arms, and everything seems to be going well until the dark side strikes again, and Obi-Wan is confronted by Darth Vader, walking into the homestead of Owen and Aunt Beru, as Obi-Wan would expect him to look at this point. He wouldn't know that Vader is as fixed up as he... So this is a vision that he's seeing, a dark side vision that's been provoked. And perhaps Anakin would be a bit decrepit, bleeding, but anger is keeping him going. So he's seeing his friend now completely consumed and ready to take him on. so Obi-Wan lashes out and tries to defend the homestead, but what he thinks is Darth Vader turns out to be, like I say, a Force vision, and he ends up scaring Owen and Beru, who ask him to leave. Following the canon now, the books and comics, apparently Obi-Wan saves Luke in his younger days from being attacked by some of Jabba's men who... This really bizarre story. They instigate a water tax.
Okay.
So it's not all that thrilling, but so Luke's like, no, I must go out and get water for everyone or something. And Obi-Wan tries to help, because obviously going against Jabba is quite a menacing figure at that age. Formidable foe. And Obi-Wan sees that things are getting out of hand. Luke gets knocked down and I think knocked out, but Obi-Wan saves him and transports him home without waking anyone up. So he gets home, he's like, what? How am I here? He also helps Luke to rebuild his canyon skimmer that gets damaged while Luke tries to perform a maneuver by sending him new parts from... Apparently, actually, Obi-Wan gets a job.
Yeah, well.
He gets a job working defending Jawas, which is quite interesting. And the money that he gets from that, he then uses to buy the parts for to rebuild the skimmer.
Interesting. Which
he then gives to Luke, but Owen actually returns them and is like, we don't want you now.
Oh, ouch.
Because remember, Owen says to Luke, that's nothing but a crazy old man.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm trying to now instigate why he would be feeling that. Because as far as episode 3 is like, it's like, you just given him a kid. A moany, terrible human being.
Retract.
A moany, terrible human being, yeah. And I don't understand why he would have taken on that kind of prejudice. Perhaps it was something that the Empire instigated or whatever. But this is what I would imagine it would be. So he returns the stuff, but then Owen on his way back gets attacked, and Obi-Wan saves him with the aid of Luke. Luke doesn't see Obi-Wan, but Owen and Obi-Wan exchange looks. There's no thanks, but I think there's a bit of forgiveness there.
Right.
Feeling like hope is restored, he lets his defences down while in town. On the way back, he encounters a chill in the Force and turns around to confront the real Darth Vader. Now, the only reason why I've written in this scene is at the end of episode 6, or nearing the end, on Endor, or the forest moon of Endor, I should say, Darth Vader says to Luke, when Luke says to Vader, come with me, Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you do. Now, there's no point in the prequel trilogy where Obi-Wan actually begs Anakin to come with him and work it all out. He's like, he questions his motives, but I don't think there's any point where it's like, yeah, come with me. Where Luke's so kind of blasé about it. So many other Star Wars fans have questioned this as well, not just me. This could perhaps be the scene that explains that, because then Obi-Wan would try and bring Vader with him and try and separate him, because it's just him now. Mm-hmm. There's no backup. He's asking him to come with him, so he would then have the time to be able to work things out. Vader, of course, turns him down, and there's a battle that turns out, but Vader loses in a sense, but believes Obi-Wan to be mortally wounded. That's why he doesn't reveal to Tarkin that Obi-Wan's still alive, and is like, oh my gosh, he's still alive, when he's on the Death Star. Everyone's so surprised that Obi-Wan's still alive. And when he gets home, he finds Anakin's old apprentice, Ahsoka, because she's still alive at this point. And that's been confirmed because she's in Star Wars Rebels and stuff like that. Is waiting for him and attends to his wounds, but Obi-Wan lies and says it was one of the Emperor's agents / Inquisitors. He doesn't say that it's Vader, because if he did, that would crush Ahsoka, because Ahsoka doesn't know what happened to Anakin.
Right.
She has no idea. Obi-Wan places the lightsaber in the box and reflects on his hopes for the future, and that's where it would end. So that's my thoughts for an Obi-Wan Kenobi film. There's a bit that happens. He's still on Tatooine for all of it, but there are more sets and there's interactions with the characters that we know and love. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts?
No, well, it certainly all ties in, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And
that's quite a nice round off to what we then see later on.
It would answer some of those questions that people have, like, why does Darth Vader say that Obi-Wan thought the same? And what kind of conflict Obi-Wan would have been going through. Because you don't live by yourself, even if your life is a brilliant and happy without reflecting on past terrible events. Unless you are just an amazingly happy human being that has no terribleness. I mean, if you're living in the desert by yourself, you're going to be like, huh, why am I living by myself? Why do I not see anyone ever? Apart from the Jawas that I work with on like a weekly basis or whatever. Why you would question your solitude at that point if there was nothing that provoked it. But of course there has been things for Obi-Wan, so that would be explained in that film. So that's what I'd hope that Disney would do with the Kenobi film. Don't know whether they will. Probably not, but they've got to do something along those lines if it is set between episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah, no, I know that all sounds good to me. It's yeah, I mean, I know nowhere near as much as you do, and
I mean, a lot of that was researched today, to be fair.
Well,
Feel like on all the stuff that had happened with Obi-Wan in the past, outside of the films. I knew the films, but outside of that, because I wanted to check just to make sure that they had encountered each other, and they had apparently quite a few times, whether they knew it or not. So I think, we're 34 minutes in, so I'll round off this episode of The State of the Galaxy. Thank you very much, Tom, for joining me, and I hope that you'll join me on future episodes.
You're most welcome.
I will not question you so much about the Star Wars universe. We'll just go through and lightly touch on some nice stuff. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining us on this episode, the pilot episode. Let's hope that there are some more. May the Force be with you, and have a great evening.